is coming. Movement. Movement of locations, movement of people, movement of things. It's going to start moving now around. D.C. is going to have a different current wiring it now. It's coming that way. Hallelujah. Now, this is just to show the nations and arrogant tyrants their significance in the scheme and the design of God. Now, on the other hand, what about you and I? What about God's people? Where do they fit into this? This is amazing things. I want you to really pay attention now. God is a God, we said this on the last program, I think, is a God of the prophetic and prophecy. Now, in the fact that He reveals destiny. Now, I want you to listen to this. He doesn't just reveal destiny. This is big. Are you ready for big? Now this is big. Everybody say, I'm ready for it. All right, here it is. He doesn't only reveal destiny, He creates destiny. Oh, my goodness. Oh, do you have any idea how big that is? How big is it that He's the creator of destiny? Not to just make destiny come to pass, but He's so huge and vast that when He meted out the heavens with the span and measured the waters in the hollow of His hand, He weighed the mountains in scales and the hills in a balance. He comprehended all the dust of the earth in a measure. He was creating destiny here. He was creating destiny. Verse 15, the nations are as a drop of a bucket, and they are counted as the small dust of the balance. Behold, He takes up the isles as a very little thing. The nations are in the drop. The nations are in the drop. Their whole strength, everything is in this bucket. These verses are God Himself creating, listen now, creating destiny for all the nations, for all the Gentiles, for all of Israel. Say destiny. These are the verses where He's creating destiny. He's talking about judgment. He's talking about all these things. Everything is built in. Everything is written in. Listen to this. It says, with whom took He counsel in verse 14? Who instructed him? Who taught him in the path of judgment and taught him knowledge and showed him the way of understanding? Behold, the nations are as a drop of a bucket and are counted as small dust of the balance. Behold, He takes up the isle as a very little thing. He is creating destiny for nations and peoples. He's creating. I don't know. I'm going to get that said in just a minute. It's not that God reveals destiny only. He's big enough to create it. This is awesome. This is awesome to me. Listen to this. Now, in your being, therefore in your being, in your spirit, when you were conceived, the spark of life is your whole destiny dropped down from your spirit into your spirit by God. Watch now. And breathed into your dirt the breath of lives. So your destiny was put in your spirit by God. And when you're conceived and that spark hits, and that seed and that egg collide, and when it hits, when that sperm and that egg collide, and there's a spark of electricity, a flash of light, a flash of God's countenance. When that happens, what that is God sent your spirit filled with your future, filled with your destiny, filled with all the gifts it'll take to bring it to pass. And when it did, He breathed into your dirt at that moment the breath of lives. What life? What breadth of lives? Yes, your destiny is so big that it will inspire the lives of others around you. Is that not awesome? That it will inspire the lives of those around you. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. See, Satan is a killer of destiny. He steals, kills, and destroys destinies. Strife, jealousy, envy is all to get you to a place to destroy your destiny. That's what all this election corruption was about. It was to keep you from your destiny God has given you, has called you to do. Now, no matter what God was doing in these powerful scriptures in Isaiah 40, no matter what He was doing here in His great magnitude of creation, even in all of this, He didn't forget the people. He created their destiny at the same time. Their potential. These verses are not only to show people how much bigger God is than the nations, but what they could become. These verses are not only to show the nations how much bigger God is to them, but also that He is so big, He created your future when you were just a speck in the bucket, that it is tied. And He did that to show you that in that little speck of dust, the nations, it means the goyim, it means the people, the nations. It's also talking about Israel. It's talking about all the people in the earth. He said all of them had a destiny, and every one of them, when God was creating it all, He didn't forget the nations, the people. He took them in that tiny speck and He put them down in the bottom of that bucket, in that bucket with all the mountains and all the hills and all the creation, all the dust, everything that's weighed. He put them in that scale. And when He put them in that scale, He was saying, there's a destiny to you, for you, in you, and it's connected to everything that exists around you. And all of the creation recognizes the connection of that destiny. Hallelujah. Now, I'm trying to get to something here. So never let the devil tell you that you do not have a future, a destiny. Your destiny has already been written in your DNA by your spirit. And when that flash came, now this is powerful. Listen, guys, you ready? Get your catchers out. Here it comes. When the flash came, the pattern of your destiny flashed from your spirit like a negative on a film, a picture. And it shadowed your flesh. And all the earth recognizes it because it was weighed with it. Now, let me say that again. Let me see if I can get that across to us. So, I was reminded of this. Now, I know people will say, well, Brother Robin, do you believe this? Listen, I'm reminded of something, the Shroud of Turin. You know, I watched that several times and was looking at that, and how people say, well, that's not him. Well, that is him. Well, let me tell you something. The thing that impressed me about this was, they said that the image wasn't drawn with a dye. It wasn't used in some like a painting or dyed the fabric. And it would have never dyed in that kind of detail. But they said what it looks like in further examination is that it was a flash of radiation that hit that thing. And when it did, it burned the image of whoever came through it, see? And left the image of him there when he came back in his body. And the Lord reminded me of that when I was studying this. What happened is when that flash came at your conception and brought your destiny, your future, God visiting your baby shower, when that happened, He had downloaded that in your spirit. Your spirit sparked it when it was breathed into your flesh. And it burned the image of your destiny into your dirt, into your DNA. That's why you lean towards certain things. That's why you're drawn toward talent. Some people play music, some dance, some are in business, some are athletes, some are this, some are that. It's all because that was burned into your, or burnt, how do you say it? Burned into your spirit by your flesh by your spirit. It was God breathing into your nostrils the breath of lives. And it's so recognizable by the earth that your body was weighed with, that once you make one move to act on it, the entire creation begins to line up, because it knows that's part of the plan. That's part of the pattern. We know that. The dirt remembers. Now, so when that happens, that flash came, the pattern of your destiny is visible by the creation. It's like a negative of a picture. Remember the old cameras? And people don't know much about that now with phones. But in the old cameras, when you developed the film, they sent the negatives with it. And it would just look like a little brown strip of film. But when you hold it up to the light, you can see the image of the picture kind of outlined in the negative. That's the way it is in your flesh. The destiny in your spirit is recognized in your flesh by the earth it was weighed with. Oh, Brother Riley, that's a little far out, ain't it? No, it's not far enough. Watch now. So the DNA, it was written into your DNA by your spirit. Now, when that destiny flashed from your spirit like a negative of a picture, it shadowed your flesh. And all the earth recognizes it because it was weighed with it. So this means there is room for you in the earth. There is room for you here. And when the enemy tries to talk someone into suicide, all he's trying to do is to get them out of here before they recognize their destiny and begin to walk in it. Because the earth is waiting for the watch, the sons of God, to be revealed to it. Revealing denotes an image.